What you're about to hear isn't the kind of thing most people talk about openly. These are the real behavioral patterns that show up in women when they've gone a long time without genuine, intimate physical connection weeks, months, sometimes longer. And the fifth one on this list, that's the one that changes everything. That's the difference between a man who never quite figures out what's happening and a man she's already thinking about in a completely different way. None of this is speculation. These are patterns that repeat themselves consistently across hundreds of real situations, real coaching conversations, and real stories shared by men who were confused until they finally understood what they were looking at. So, let's get into it. The first thing to understand is what happens to a woman's body when meaningful physical touch has been absent for too long. There's an actual term for it: skin hunger. And it's not poetic language, it's biological reality. The human body has over 5 million sensory receptors in the skin, and a significant portion of them are directly connected to the systems that produce oxytocin and dopamine, which are the chemicals responsible for feeling safe, desired, and emotionally alive. When those systems go unstimulated for an extended period, the craving that builds isn't a choice. It's physiological. So she starts reaching for touch in ways that feel natural and low risk. She lets her fingers brush against your wrist when she passes you something. She laughs and keeps her hand on your forearm for a few seconds longer than a casual gesture would require. She finds a reason to fix something on your jacket or your collar, even though nothing actually needs fixing. She sits close enough that there's light physical contact even when there's plenty of room. She plays with your fingers in a friendly, seemingly casual way. What almost every man misses is that each of those moments is actually a quiet test. She's reading your reaction. Does he pull away? Does he go stiff and awkward? Does he pretend it didn't happen? Or does he stay relaxed, hold the energy, meet her eyes calmly, and give it back naturally? If you tense up, her nervous system registers that as a small rejection. If you receive it with confidence and ease, you've just passed the first invisible threshold without either of you saying a single word about it. There's a real example worth sharing here. A guy went on a casual coffee date. The woman was touching his arm throughout the entire conversation. He convinced himself she was just a naturally warm person. Afterward, he said he didn't want to ruin the friendship by misreading the signals. He had not misread anything. She was communicating as clearly as she knew how, and he walked away without acknowledging it. If that kind of moment has happened to you before, you already know exactly how that feels in hindsight. The second pattern is a particular kind of emotional fishing that starts to happen when high-quality masculine presence has been missing from her life for a while. This isn't attention-seeking in a shallow sense. It's something deeper. Feeling emotionally seen by someone is actually a neurological prerequisite for a woman to feel safe enough to open up on a deeper level. So, she starts asking questions that sound like casual conversation, but are actually carrying a lot more weight. Things like, do you think I'm too emotional sometimes, honestly? Or, am I just too much for most guys? Or, did I overreact with my ex, or was I actually right? Or, would you still respect me if I weren't as put together? These are not small talk. These are raw emotional probes. She's throwing something into the water to see what comes back. The majority of men answer these the exact wrong way, something generic and reassuring, like, no, you're totally fine. Everyone's like that sometimes. She these sees as she's enchant. That response flatlines the entire conversation. But if you look at her directly and say something like, honestly, I think you feel things at a depth that most people never reach. That's rare. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding that kind of depth. You don't. That response builds a bridge that most men don't even know is available to them. The third pattern plays out entirely in the body, and it's happening mostly outside of her conscious awareness. When a woman has been in a prolonged state of emotional and physical abstinence, the limbic system, the ancient part of the brain wired for attraction and survival, becomes hypersensitive. Its threshold drops. It's scanning constantly, and the signals start leaking out in ways she isn't fully controlling. She touches her hair significantly more when you're nearby. She crosses and uncrosses her legs repeatedly, which is a classic physiological arousal signal. She mirrors your posture almost perfectly without thinking about it. She angles her whole body toward you even when the space doesn't require it. Her pupils expand when she makes eye contact with you. She touches her lips more, biting, pressing, running her tongue across them briefly. She keeps adjusting her clothing, pulling at her neckline, straightening things that don't need straightening. Now, here's where most men make a serious mistake. They notice all of this, decide the moment is right, and lunge for the kiss or make an obvious move too quickly. And that's usually how they end up blocked, ignored, or permanently repositioned as a friend. The right approach is slow, deliberate mirroring with gradual escalation. She leans towards you, so you lean slightly toward her. She touches your arm, so you respond by touching her hand or placing yours gently at the small of her back. She laughs and tilts her head, so you hold eye contact one beat longer than usual and let the silence sit there without filling it. It becomes a slow, magnetic pull between two people. And the man who can lead that without any trace of desperation is exactly the kind of man she ends up thinking about for a long time afterward. The fourth pattern is harder to sit with, but it's essential to understand. When a woman has been genuinely deprived of real intimacy for a long period, she tends to build serious emotional armor. Before she lets anyone past it, she needs to know the answer to one question. Can he handle the full version of me, the complicated, emotional, sometimes chaotic version, without disappearing? So she starts testing, and she doesn't test lightly. She shares something vulnerable and watches your face with complete attention. She manufactures a small conflict or moment of friction to see whether you stay grounded or start to unravel. She says something intentionally provocative. I doubt you could actually handle someone like me, just to see how your frame holds under pressure. She suddenly goes quiet or pulls back and then watches whether you chase after her anxiously or remain steady. The overwhelming majority of men fall apart here. They go into problem-solving mode and try to fix her emotions. They take the bait and start arguing. They get insecure and start seeking reassurance. None of that is what she's looking for. What she actually needs to see is a man who can stay present without flinching, who listens without trying to read the room right, who can say, "That sounds like it's been weighing on you. I'm glad you said it." Or simply, "I hear you." No explanation required, no defense, no attempt to change how she feels. That quality, calm, spacious, non-reactive strength is profoundly compelling to a woman who's been running on empty for a long time. The fifth pattern is the most significant one on this entire list. When a woman wants closeness, but is either too guarded, too proud, or too conditioned to say directly, she begins engineering situations that give her what she wants while maintaining the appearance of an innocent reason. It's not manipulation, it's self-protection. The setups look like this. I need to move this one piece of furniture, and I genuinely cannot do it alone. Could you come by? Or, I hate watching horror movies by myself. Would you just come keep me company? Pwede si bursary si. Or, my internet has been completely broken. You know about this stuff? Could you come take a look? That sure these such as. Or, I picked up a shelf, but I have no idea how to put it together. Would you mind? Or, I don't feel like drinking alone tonight. Come have a glass of wine. She's not actually talking about the couch or the Wi-Fi. She's building a bridge that feels socially acceptable, a reason that gives both of you plausible deniability while creating exactly the conditions she wants. She is inviting you into her private space at night, alone. The difference between how men who understand this show up versus men who don't is everything. Men who don't understand it arrive and either wait awkwardly for something to happen on its own, push too hard, too fast, and destroy the entire atmosphere, or get so self-conscious that the energy collapses entirely. Men who understand it show up grounded. They create comfort first. They talk, they laugh, they tease gently. They let the energy build at its own pace without manufacturing urgency. And when she moves closer, and she will, because that's why she invited you, they respond with calm certainty rather than relief or desperation. That energy, the energy of a man who knows his own value and isn't performing for her approval, is almost catastrophically attractive to a woman who has been craving real masculine presence for a long time. Those are the 5 patterns. Most men move through their entire lives without ever registering any of them because they're so focused on impressing, chasing, or explaining themselves that they never stop to observe and actually understand what's in front of them. But you now have a different lens to look through. Use it with intention. Use it with genuine respect, because what she's ultimately looking for, and what most people are looking for, is to feel seen, to feel wanted, and to be chosen not from someone's loneliness or need, but from real grounded desire. If any part of this shifted something for you, share it with someone in your life who might need to hear it.